Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we've got a very special guest, a good friend of mine, Cinemamba.
What's up, everybody?
So as you can tell by the background of the video, and as you can tell by the little man hanging off of my friend's head, it is Spider-Man, but not just any Spider-Man, it's Spider-Man Homecoming. And let's just say me and my good friend here are big Spider-Man fans, and I've got a lot of things I would like to get off my chest with this review, especially to the people that call Tom Iron Boy Jr. I'm coming for you. I don't care. I'm coming for you. Anyway, what about yourself? Like, what are you excited to do about this review?
I gotta concur. Like people that are coming that calling Tom Iron Boy Jr. You guys got it. You guys got your stuff off for how long has it been at this point? Like 7 years, almost seven
Yep.
years of this. I've had to put up with Iron Boy Jr. He can't do anything by himself. He's not Spider-Man. Come on, man. Like after No Way Home, you guys should have already been wiped out. But even looking back at Homecoming, he never was Iron Boy Jr. That was always a stupid criticism. And
Yeah,
like
no,
watching it again just cemented that for me. Like he never was Iron Boy Jr.
very true. Because one of the things that normally we will go to scene, we're going to do that in a second, but I want to get this off my chest first. One of the things we both realized during this is that the many times people say Iron Boy Jr., this entire movie shows that Peter had to do it all on his own. Like, yes, he had assistance from Iron Man, but it was usually just to tell him off. It was never like he was actually helping him in these situations. So I don't understand why people are like, oh, he always had Tony having his back. Like, no, he didn't. He had Tony take his suit away. He had Tony judging his every like judgment call and move that he ever made. So, can you really
Yeah, I
say that it
mean
was
the only time you could say he bailed Peter out was at the ferry,
that?
and even then it was just like Tony. Tony should have known better than to send FBI agents to go after somebody like Vulture. Like he's a bigger deal than that. Don't
Yep.
send FBI agents to go deal with that. That was never going to work out.
See, that's
And
another thing. Tony's decisions in this were a lot more like iffy than I remember them being. Like you're like, why did he choose to do this instead of just
yeah, so you know the Vulture's out there.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're saying that it's below the Avengers pay grade. Well, go handle it yourself. Like, what are you doing?
Exactly. He's just sitting chilling for all we know. Apparently, it's like, what is he supposed to be
You're off
doing?
in India just doing random. Like, what are you doing? Like, you handle it.
He was just having like a nice like party in at like some place in India, just chilling, drinking a martini. Oh yeah, that's such
You
important
handle it.
business.
Go tell Vision or Wanda to handle it. What are they doing? Like,
Exactly. But anyway, let's go straight into getting into the scene by scenes now. And so, obviously, this movie, I love the opening of this movie because it's showing you like people trying to clean up after the Avengers, you know, the hulking things. It was when they all were in New York and Loki destroyed everything. And obviously, Adrian Toomes, Michael Keaton, also known as the Vulture, is obviously a part of this cleanup
also
crew.
Batman. But yeah,
Yeah, also the Batman. Yes, very true. Um, he's obviously cleaning this place up, but then this is when the big guns show up, you know, the secret services that help clean up the superhero mess, which is funny because after this movie you don't ever really see them again. So I've just realized that like like this
I
was the
think
only
they were in No Way Home. They always mess
yeah
with Spider-Man. They just pop up every now and again to be like, hey, and now it's telling No Way Home they can arrest people now. Like, what's
yeah.
going on? I don't know.
I really don't know myself, to be honest. And then obviously, then goes to Adrian Toomes getting angry, going to punch the guy in the face, and you know, then he gets kicked out, and then it transitions to one of the best opening scenes of all time, in my opinion, where it's cutting in Civil War footage as well as like new footage for this movie where it's obviously showing you Peter as Spider-Man for the first time and he's like flipping into the battle and then he's like trying to vlog everything like a normal teenager would, and I think that's one of the
Yeah,
things that Homecoming does well. He feels like a teenager.
yeah. It's like when you go on a trip with your friends and you're just recording everything. It's like your first trip away from home. You just recording every little thing. You're recording yourself on the plane. You're recording yourselves in the hotel. You're recording yourselves walking around. Like, and it kind of is a good way to sneak in. Like, obviously, Peter Parker is famous for being a photographer. Like, it's a good way to kind of sneak that in,
Mm-hmm.
but like kind of make it more modern because photography is still a thing, of course. But like,
Yeah,
videography is the new thing now. Like
definitely.
for obviously for vlogs and social media posts and stuff like that. So if they ever want to go to route making Peter or like a photographer, they can kind of they had the basis for it here. He's pretty good at it. Like the way he cut the video together and
Oh yeah,
the biggest
definitely.
footage he captured and stuff. Like I like that it begins like right after like a film by Peter Parker. Like he's the
Yeah,
director of the movie.
Oh no, that's so funny. See, that's the thing. Like one of the issues that I've always had with like the other Spider-Man movies as well is that they never actually feel like teenagers. They feel like adults by the time we see them in high school. So
Yeah.
it kind of it takes you out of seeing them as a teenager. Where Tom it actually feels like a teenager. He's got like the nerdiness down. He's got like, oh my god, look at this. Oh my god, Iron Man made me this suit, and it's like that is what a teenager is like.
The
You would,
genuine excitement, yeah, and
yeah.
like like the self confidence issues.
Mm-hmm.
He feels like yeah, like he lets like the kind of go. He lets Flash bully him,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like you don't like he lets it happen when, dude, you're way stronger than this guy. Like you don't have to let this happen, but he does. It's
Mm-hmm.
because he struggles with like that insecurity, and I really like Tom. I think Toby did a good job with it too, but I think
Yeah.
Tom kind of modernizes it and takes it to a new level.
Oh no, I agree because like one of the things that I will always give props to this movie, especially, is that when you see Tom's like Spider-Man in this, he feels like a teenager. Like we've noticed as well going through this movie, like he barely throws a punch, if at all,
Nope.
because of how they're portraying this character. He usually just webs them up, which makes sense because obviously the people he's going up against are like twice his height in this movie. Like most of them are fully grown men. Even though he's got the strength of a spider, which technically speaking, they could have had him fight more, and it would have made more sense because he's stronger for his age. It wasn't because he couldn't. It was he was learning to control it and how he actually becomes Spider-Man. That's the whole point of this movie, and I really liked that.
Yeah, it's like you got to remember, like at this point, other than the Civil War stuff where he's fighting Cap and Bucky and Sam and stuff, he's most people he's fought are like common thugs who can't really
Mm-hmm.
do anything to him anyway. So webbing him up is probably he's probably 9 times out of 10 that's gonna work. He's
Mm-hmm.
never really had to fight anybody. Like Vulture is really his first. Even Cap was taking it easy on him. So
Mm-hmm.
even like Vulture's really his first like fight. You can kind of feel that like he's doesn't really know what he's doing yet. It's kind of like anxious and stuff. Like I
Yeah.
like that they do that. He's only confident when he's going against like your common street thugs or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be when you first. You're kind of weird if he just kind of got the hang of it immediately and it's like, well, I can just do this.
Exactly. I think one of the things that I always get annoyed at when people are always hating on the Tom movies for like oh he's not like this part is not like Spider-Man and like and it's like dude you're reading too much into it. Like if you read the original comic runs and things, this is the closest Peter Parker and Spider-Man you're gonna get. Like unless someone else comes along to take the mantle and make it their own. As of right now, he's the closest one to those coming from the page. He's got the dorkiness down. He's got the Spider-Man funny quick whips down. He does his own stunts, so Tom gets that in regard. He was doing a lot of
Yep.
these flips and acrobats on his own. Obviously, he did have a stunt double. Obviously, everybody has to have one by like law, but he done most of the stuff that he could, and that's one of the things that I liked about Homecoming as well is that when it comes to like a lot of like the scenes of like him having to balance life is so funny like because after we get that opening scene and things we get to see Peter he's came back now, he's trying to readjust to living a normal life and not being on an Avengers mission, and he's phoning up Tony every 5 minutes like
He's blowing up
yo did,
Happy's phone.
yeah.
He's like, this is Peter, by the way, Parker. Like, as if Happy doesn't know that. Like, bro, you send like 50 texts to him.
Yeah, it's like the old obsessive girlfriend. Like you broke up with her like ages ago, but she's still sending you texts months later, being like, "Yo, this is me, by the way," and we're like, "We know, we've been patching you for a reason."
Of course, obviously.
Yeah,
And I like that. Like that scene where he like walks into school
yeah,
and he like flashes messing with him in the parking lot. That feels like going back to like the high school thing. That feels like the most realistic depiction of high school. And I would know because I was in high school around this time still.
yeah,
And like that's pretty much what it felt like. Like there's not really that. Yeah, there's still like your groups and stuff, like your nerds, your goths, your jocks, so
yeah,
on. But it's everyone kind of blends in. Like you can be part of more than one group, and they kind of did that in
yeah,
this movie. Like Peter is a nerd, but he's not like relentlessly bullied like
mm,
24/7 because that's not what high school is like for most people nowadays. Like, yeah, people might say something to you every now and again, but it's not like he's being bullied 24/7.
yeah. It's not like he's getting shoved in a locker or getting a swirly. You know, he's
Yeah,
just
like,
getting Flash coming at him, and that's the thing that as much as we could probably say how this version of Flash just isn't intimidating in the slightest,
Yeah,
and he's not really a bully. Like one
just
thing I'll give his Flash is that even though he is a bully, he is a nerd as well. So they kind of give him a duality thing, which
yeah,
I
he's
kind of
like
feel liked.
he's just like this is another real. He's just that rich douche that
Yeah.
you knew in high school who just like to flaunt his money around. No one really likes him, but he's around all the time anyway because he has money. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, I like the fact that it was a different take on Flash. Obviously, it's not my favorite. If we could have got like Andrew Garfield's Flash and put him in this movie, I think that would have made it like this.
Oh
This
yeah,
would definitely be the best of like all time.
that's what
Spider-Man
Flash is
movies.
supposed to be. He's a bully, but he's a bully with a heart. Like I
Mhm.
love that scene in TASM when Uncle Ben dies and like Flash comes up to him and Peter like slams him against the locker and he's like, "I just want to say sorry about your uncle," because that's
Mhm.
Flash is a bully, but he has his limits. Like he won't.
Yeah.
He has honor.
He also said like in that scene, like it feels good, doesn't it? Saying like so, it's basically showing you a little bit of insight into Flash. Going
Yeah.
that stuff like this is the reason why I do the things that I do.
He,
I know it isn't justified, but now you know why I do it.
he takes his anger out on other people because he can't cope with it himself. And like
Exactly.
they kind of do that with this Flash because in No Way Home, Far From Home, his parents are not there to pick him up when he get back from the trip.
Oh yeah.
You kind of get like, oh, he just doesn't get attention at home, so he's seeking it everywhere else.
Yeah, very
Which
true.
I've known a lot of people like that, and that's real. Like you get neglected at home, you have to be the center of attention in like every other circumstance.
Yeah, and
Make
in
up
different
for it.
aspects of life. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Another like obviously after going from that scene, we go into after that scene we go into the next scene, which is Peter going into his classes. He's bored. He's making his webs, and then he goes out back on the street to be Spider-Man. And then this is when we get an amazing cameo from the main man, Stan Lee himself, because he is a part of this. And the thing that's funny is that he's still trying to get a hold of Happy and stuff, but he's stopping all these little petty crimes. Like he's like, "Do you know whose this bike is?" And then he just webs it up to a window, and then
but he has a note on it. It's like, "Please don't steal this bike." Spider-Man.
Yeah, and then obviously he's doing other like little petty things. He's jumping about on top of buildings, and then he sees a guy that looks like he's stealing a car. So he webs him and he goes, "Ha, you're not stealing it now, buddy." He's like, "This is my car. I have lost my keys."
And then then the horn goes off, and then everyone's in their apartment. I gotta work at night, man. Come on. And Stan comes out.
Yeah, he's like, "Don't make me come down there, you punk." And then he starts flirting with the old lady from across the street.
How's your mother? It's so great because we were talking about this. Stan has always like said that Spider-Man is one of the favorite characters he's ever, which is saying a lot because Stan Lee's made a lot of characters, a lot of memorable characters. The X-Men, Fantastic Four, Captain America. Like he's made some great and memorable characters, but Spider-Man's always been the one that he's had like a special connection with. So it's always super cool to see him in these.
Also, to those fanboys out there, by the way, if Stan the man, said that Tom Holland's the best Spider-Man before he dies, I'm taking that as credit, my guys. Come on, you can't deny it at that point.
In the Marvel sense, that's basically the word of God. So I mean,
so the fact that he even came out and said that and gave Tom his props, you have to admit that it's the facts. Trust me, I understand there's always going to be a bias. Like, everybody's going to have a bias to Toby. Everybody's going to have a bias to Andrew. I was a part of the weird generation. I grew up with all three. Like, I saw the originals. And then I watched the TASMs in the cinema, and then I also watched the Tom trilogy in the cinema. So it's like me and you like overlap like with everybody else.
Yeah, it's like in 2007 when Spider-Man 3 came out. That's one of the first movies I went to go see in theaters. I was like 5 years old. And I saw that one. Then I watched TASM in theaters. I was like 9 or 10 when TASM came out, and then TASM 2. And then I've watched all of them, well, besides the first two, in theaters. So they all have a special place in my heart. And it's people that say that Toby's your favorite. That's fine. You can have your favorite, but in terms of being comic accurate, it's Tom's by far. Like that's the most comic accurate Spider-Man, like personality wise, even like the height and the build wise. Like that's what Peter Parker's supposed to look like. It's what he's supposed to act like. That's what he acts like.
Exactly. So many that's one of the things I was excited to do this video to talk about is that people need to realize there's a difference of that being your subjective favorite version of Spider-Man and the objective fact of who's the closest. And who's the closest is Tom. Subjectively, he's my favorite Spider-Man just simply because he's the exact thing I wanted to see as Spider-Man. I like Andrew, but he was too cool for me. Toby, great Peter, but when it came to the Spider-Man stuff, it was a bit meh for me.
He kind
But
of combines the both aspects of
mm,
Toby and Andrew. Like Andrew to me had the Spider-Man stuff down, like the quips and like the demeanor and stuff like that. But when it came to being Peter Parker, I was like, that's just not Peter Parker. This is
yeah.
like Zeke Thompson or like some cool kid, like some random skater from like some random skater kid. Like this isn't Peter
Yeah.
Parker to me.
Exactly, and I know that's the way they wanted to go with it, with behind the scenes
It's a
stuff.
different
But,
take.
it's still good in its own right. But like when it comes to wanting to see the best version of Spider-Man, I think this is it. Like even the suit there, the fact is that that's the closest suit we've got to the original suit.
Yep.
Like other than TASM 2, that was the one good thing about that movie, is the suit was amazing.
Yeah,
but
that's about it.
yeah, but this one actually has the retractable eyes. Like that's a comic panel,
the subtle webs, like the black outline. Like
the only sort of thing that changed was like the middle like logo on his chest and maybe like the back logo. Other than that, this is the exact suit. Obviously, we see the newer one in the No Way Home, and that's the one that everybody's ranting and raving to see. But this is the closest one as of right now. So what I think we might do is just transition over to doing some of our favorite parts of this movie, because if you're going to go by scene for this was like over a 2-hour movie. We're going to be here for a while.
This movie's longer than I remember it being.
Yeah, man. Like
not in the bad way, but
oh no, definitely not. It's enjoyable for the whole entire ride.
Yeah,
but you forget how long it is.
Yeah, like it got to a point I was like, wait, there's like 30 minutes left in this thing.
Yeah, exactly. So one of my favorite scenes that I always found hilariously funny is when obviously him and Ned are sitting in the bleachers. It's the first time that Ned finds out he's Spider-Man, and he's like, yo, did you ever meet Captain America? And he's like, yeah, I stole his shield. He was like, you stole his shield? What? And it's such a teenager reaction, like, what? Holy shit.
Like you're telling it's like you're telling your friends, like, it was something cool you did. And they're like, wait, no way. Like, like then, this is Captain America. Like, there's another thing I like.
Yeah.
Like, they kind of treat the Avengers as like celebrities.
Oh,
what
yeah.
they would be if they were real. Like, if they were real, like, we just think of them as like the A-list of A-list celebrities. Like, oh yeah, that's so, like, Captain America is so cool. Tony Stark's so cool. Like, that's what I think they do that. It's realistic.
Yeah, especially because, you know, like they have like Captain America teaching the skills, and then they also had a callback to that as well during Civil War.
Oh yeah.
Or was it not? Was it Civil War, or was it like Infinity War? It was one of the movies, and they were like, "We really have this guy teaching kids after he's gone AWOL," and I was like, hey.
Oh yeah, he's like, this dude's a war criminal now, but I don't really care.
Oh yeah, I love that. Oh, dude, it's so funny because it's so right. I love it, and that's the sort of thing that, like, you know, in real life happens in schools. They're like, well, we could update it, but we're not.
Yeah,
we've not got the budget.
Like,
you know,
this random famous person committed a horrible crime 20 years ago. Well, guess what? They're still in your textbook because this textbook's 30 years old. Like, that's the kind of stuff that happens.
Yeah, or it's just a reprint.
I think it's in that same montage, like Ned just like asking him all the questions about like Spider-Man. He's like, "Can you shoot? Can you lay eggs? Can you spit venom?" And he's like, "If I were you, I would stand on top of a building and just shoot it as far as
I could go." Yeah. Another one of my favorite scenes as well is that. Well, it's mostly just the MJ scenes of this movie, because rewatching it is so funny. Showing it clearly shows that she likes Peter and she's watching him from afar because of that, but she keeps insulting him and Ned constantly throughout the movie.
It's like she's deflecting from it. Where she's trying to be like, I'm just here just because, like, you're a loser.
She's like, yous are losers, and he's like, why are you sitting with us then? And it's like, I have no friends either.
It's like, well, what are you then? Like, you're sitting with us. And
then at the party, Peter walks in and she's like, you're at this lame party, and he's like, you're here too.
She's like, am I? and then every time he's in detention, she's there just like drawing him and like drawing the teacher, just being annoying for no reason.
And then the teacher's like, you don't even have detention. She's like, oh, I know.
I come here to sketch people in crisis. Like, I don't care what. And that's another point of contention with this movie is like MJ either works for people or it doesn't.
Yeah.
For me, I find this MJ immensely more enjoyable than Kirsten Dunst's MJ in the Raimi movies.
I agree. I'm sorry. I will take a somewhat more like cold and distant, very like, you know, outcasty MJ to, oh my God, I'm going to be with Peter. Oh no, I'm going to be with Harry. Oh no, I'm going to be with this guy.
I got kidnapped again. She just keeps getting kidnapped. Like, how many
Yeah.
times you just stay inside? Like, stop.
But I want to be an actress, and then she keeps failing. Like, her take on that character was so bad. Like, to be honest, like, if I could have had any other take, I would have, because she was so bad. Where at least in this, the love interest Liz, she's really interesting. She's boring, but she's interesting in a
Yeah,
little bit.
she does stuff. So like, she's on the decathlon team. Her
She throws
dad's
a
the
house
vulture.
party.
Yeah, I mean, she's a basic love interest, but she's not annoying, which
Yeah.
is like the best thing you can have would be a love interest. Honestly, just have them serve their purpose. Don't be annoying. Have some stuff going on. Like, she's got some stuff with her dad. Like, it's enough.
Yeah.
And I like the one thing I like about the Spider-Man franchise is like the love interests do get better as they go along, because we got Kirsten Dunst. I like Emma Stone's Gwen in the Taza movie. She's good too. She
Gwen Stacy saved those movies because of the chemistry between her and obviously Andrew, but obviously that's because they were kind of doing that off movie set as well.
Now Thomas and Data are too. So
yeah,
I mean,
there you go.
I think didn't Toby and Kirsten
they call it the Spider-Man curse.
So if Miles ever comes, he's gonna date his co-star. I mean, I guess it's just gonna happen.
Most likely, it'll be funny to see that. But yeah, another one of my favorite scenes in this movie, as well, is obviously one stripped straight from the comic book panel, whilst Peter's trying to shove his way out, and he's sitting there crying for help at first. He feels so low, and then what Tony says to him is like, "If you're nothing with this suit, then you don't deserve it." And he's like, and it was such a powerful scene, man.
That's one of my favorite scenes in like the entire MCU. It's so underrated, and it's kind of a quiet moment, and you kind of I think it's meant to represent, like, as kids, like you have your support system, like you got whatever they may be, like your family, your friends, but there's gonna come a time when you can't rely on them for whatever reason, and you're gonna have to dig yourself out of your own hole yourself, because that's just part of growing up. And that's what I think Peter like realized in that scene is like, Tony's not here to save me. Aunt May's not here to save me. Uncle Ben's not here to save me. Ned's not even here to save me. Like, I have to save myself. I'm Spider-Man. I can save myself. And that's why he was repeating, come on, Spider-Man, because he is Spider-Man. Like, he's been looking at Peter Parker and Spider-Man as like two different people. Like, Peter Parker is the nerdy high school kid with only only one friend who goes to school and is bullied and does all this stuff. And Spider-Man's like the confident superhero who's almost an Avenger, but he doesn't realize I can be both of those things at the same time. I need to get myself out of the situation. And I really like that they hammered that home. And that's one of my favorite panels too. Like when he lifts the comics, he actually lifts it off of him and Gwen, I think, because Gwen's in trouble. Yeah. But yeah.
See, that's the thing. In this movie, you get to see Peter being Peter, and you get to see Spider-Man being Spider-Man, like him saving them at the Washington Monument. Like there's so much more depth and character development to the Spider-Man than we've got with any of the other ones. Yeah, there was some of character depth, but like some of the choices that they made were a bit questionable and things. And the longer, the first two trilogies, the longer it went on, the worse it got. Where this is the opposite. It had the opposite effect, where each movie got better. Well, maybe than Far From Home. I know that's a very decisive movie for certain people, but I don't understand that, because Far From Home is just another good Spider-Man movie. I get that people are decisive on it, but like at the end of the day,
it serves its development. It continues its development from this one. And like, I'm glad you mentioned the monument, because that's another one of my favorite scenes. Like, I think we talked about this in the movie. Like, having superpowers doesn't magically make you not afraid of heights.
Yeah.
Like, even if I can probably survive this if I shoot a web and I can probably survive. But like, you're not thinking about that when you're on top of the Washington Monument, looking down, and you can see the birds up there, and you can see the clouds above you. Like, you see people on the ground. Like, you're gonna be scared. And like, I like that he had to like work up the nerve to be like, okay, I need to break this glass and get inside and like save my friends. Like, I like that they showed him having that moment of like fear, because it helps us connect to him. Because how many people are afraid of heights? Like,
exactly,
that's probably the most common fear there is. Like, everyone's afraid of heights.
Also followed by the fear of spiders, ironically enough.
Yep, fear of spiders, fear of enclosed spaces under that rubble. Like, he's got some really pretty common fears.
Exactly. One of my other favorite scenes is obviously near the end with the vulture, and obviously Peter's getting mangled. Like, he's properly getting slammed face first into the floor. but he just doesn't give up. He's like,
Nope.
no, I'm Spider-Man, and I love it because it's one of these things where it teaches you the ideal of it's like Rocky, it's like Mr. Miyagi, it's like you just have to keep fighting for what's right. You need to keep doing what you believe is right, no matter what, even if you're in a dangerous or maybe a life risking situation. And I think a lot of more shows and movies need to like do that nowadays because nowadays that sort of thing is lost now. It's like you can't do that now, other than like the exceptions like Cobra Kai or like the older movies like Rocky. Like a lot of that stuff is went out of fashion, and now it's all about being bleak and we live
Yeah,
in a
'cause
society.
that's another reason I think like characters like Spider-Man and
Mm-hmm.
Superman are important because we all love our edgy or morally questionable characters. Like there's a place for that.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes Eugene is a good old fashioned, just good guy. Like, and that's what I think Spider-Man and Captain America are for like Marvel. Like they're
Yeah,
just they do the right thing because it's the right thing to do.
exactly. Like
Because of something. It's just because it's the right thing to do. You know, like that. Sometimes it's really that simple.
yeah. So many times, especially when it comes to these movies nowadays, they overcomplicate it. Then every villain becomes an anti-villain. Like the thing that I liked about the Vulture is like you could understand him, but they didn't try to justify his actions. Like they had Peter calling him out on it and being like, "What do you mean you're doing it for her? That makes
Yeah,
no
and
sense."
they kind of clear that he's a hypocrite because
Mm-hmm.
so when it kind of made sense when he was like poor and he was coming up, he's like, I need to make some money. But dude,
Yeah.
have you seen that dude? Have you seen the dude's house? You don't need to keep doing this
Yes.
anymore. You could have stopped a long time ago.
Exactly. And he's like,
But
"I'm
when he,
doing
he
it for
saw he
my
was making
daughter."
money and he saw he was making, he got greedy. He saw he was making money and kept going because that's realistic. Like
Yep.
a lot of times these criminals start out, they might start out like, yeah, I need to feed my family. But then it gets to the point where you're like a big time crook and you got a like a huge house with tons
Yeah.
of windows and your daughter's about to go to college. Like you don't need to keep doing this. You could stop.
See, that's the thing though. Like that's what I love about like these characters is that there's more of a depth to them compared to most other movies where
Yeah.
you're sat there like and their basic reasoning for stuff just makes no sense. But at least he's got like a street level, like if you're like living in a ghetto, if you live in like a scheme or you live in like the estate or like the streets, they have the very same moral codes and things, and it's very realistic in that regard. And a lot of the times when you watch these movies, like like you either get the twirly mustache evil, I am bad, or you get the I'm justified because of this, that, the next thing, where they don't try to justify it, but they can also make you relate to him enough, but not to then think he's a good guy.
Yeah, like the scene in the car when he's
Mm-hmm.
talking to Peter and he's like, he threatens to first off, he threatens to kill him and kill his family. And
Yep.
then he's like, um, I'm not gonna kill you right now because I respect what you're doing and you saved my daughter's life. Like that, like I said, that's like kind of like that honor code where,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm a thief, but there's honor amongst thieves. Whereas like, yeah, you saved my daughter's life and you're doing good, so I'm not gonna just kill you outright. Like you earn my respect for that, but but I need you to stay out of my way, or I'm gonna have to kill you. Like I don't want to, but I will.
Yeah. See,
That's
that's
complex.
oh, sorry.
There's like kind of complexity there.
Yeah. See, that's the thing that I've always liked about this movie as well. Is like it gives it so much more depth. And when it comes to like this version of Spider-Man and Peter as well, it's like he's relatable. You can actually see this guy as Spider-Man being Peter. Tony is obviously in the dad role in this movie. And I know people hated that, but one of the things I loved about this movie was it gave them the father-son dynamic because he's like, the amount of times he's like, that pep talk actually was the right thing that you needed. And then, he was also like saying things like giving him advice, like if you're nothing with this suit, then, you don't deserve the suit, which is ironic because Iron Man is a guy that if he didn't have a suit would just be a normal billionaire, as we were
That's what
saying
Iron Man
during the
3 was
movie.
about.
Yep.
Literally what Iron Man 3 was about. But yeah, it's like I agree. Like I love the Tony Peter relationship
Hmm.
because it does a lot for both characters. Like say what you want. Like Peter, he needed a mentor, and within the context of the MCU, like was already established. Like
Hmm.
he needed someone to introduce him to that world. He couldn't just go into it to be like, I'm by my like it wouldn't really make sense for him to be able to just navigate that world by himself. Like,
Exactly.
who better than Tony, who's also a genius just like him, who has
Hmm.
the resources he could use to get him started. And Tony, like Peter, Peter is like the best of Tony. Like he's Tony
Hmm.
without Tony's like narcissism and arrogance and stuff. He has none of that,
Yeah.
but he has like his intelligence. He has his willingness to do the right thing. He's
Hmm.
basically the very best of Tony. That's why took it so hard when Peter failed and like was lying to him because he's like, I wanted you to be better than me.
Hmm.
Because he knows that he can see that Peter can be better than him.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I totally agree because that's one of the things that people forget is like, especially with an Endgame as well, is that if Peter didn't exist, Tony wouldn't have tried to stop the blip. It was simply because of his love for Peter, which gave the catalyst for Endgame to then occur on its own. And to me, that just goes to show you that it was a very integral part of the story and it had to be there. So I thought when I hear people get annoyed at it, it does really upset me. And
Yeah.
another thing I would love to say that I love about this movie is simply is that they get the characters so right. Like Ned is one of the best friends in the world. Like he's just clearly just the kid that's got took on a journey and he doesn't know why he's there, but he's just happy to partake in it.
Yeah, it's like he's living out his dream. Like he's involved with all this super cool stuff. His best friend's a superhero, and I love how loyal he is to Peter. Like he never, like I like Harry in the Raimi trilogy. I get why
Yeah.
he has to be that way. It's part of his story. But it got kind of old after a while. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
bro, you're mad that your dad died. I get it. I get it. Can you give Peter a break? Like cut him some slack, man. And then the same thing in the TASM universe with the whole like cure plot stuff and
Yeah,
like
like you could have cured my dad, and it's like, here we go.
you could have cured me for I got this weird disease. Like this, I like that they just let Peter have a best friend that's not plotting to kill him behind his back or is not angsty over his dad or something like that. Like I like that they have let him have like a best friend because he needed that. He
Yeah,
needed that.
exactly. And that's the thing. Like Aunt May, is as much as she looks so young in these movies, she is actually a great Aunt May. She's shown to care for she's shown that she cares for Peter. She's helping him learn how to dance. She's helping him get ready for prom. You know, she's telling him not to do this, not to do that, and it feels like a proper Aunt A to me. Like where some of the other aunties, yeah, they were aunties, but like you didn't get a lot of screen time with like the ones in
They
Tasm.
felt
Like the first
they
one you
felt
did,
more
but
like
like the second less.
they felt more like grandmas
Yeah.
kind of. Whereas like she actually felt like an aunt. Like that's kind of it kind of reminds me of a relationship with my aunt where like I can call her if I want advice about something or if I want like some practical advice about something or I need to rant or I just want someone to talk to. And I like that they didn't make this Aunt May stupid. Like she
Yeah.
knew that Peter was sneaking out every night. She knew that he was cutting classes. She knew all of that. Like
Yeah, she showed that she cared. She was being a
yeah,
proper auntie. And so yeah, so like another really good thing for me specifically as well was that, you know, when it comes to these situations at hand, they handled them really well. Like instead of having it be unrealistic where like the vulture is, you know, trying to, you know, go after Tony and try to beat like Iron Man, he's only focused on Peter. And also we forgot to mention Daniel Glover as the Prowler was just hilarious in this movie, especially because like let's just say if you know, you know, he looks like he's you know,
kind of he's tweaking out. He's tweaking out a little bit. You can tell
yeah,
he's not quite all there. But yeah, like I love that whole scene in the parking deck. Like
hmm
Peter comes to interrogate him. He's got the deep voice on the suit. He's trying to be intimidating. And like even Donald Glover calls him out. He's like, bro, you never done this, have you? Like you never interrogated
hmm
anybody before. Peter's like, what do you mean? Like I am intimidating. And it's like it's just novice rookie Spider-Man trying to like intimidate like this hardened criminal who's clearly done this before. And
mm,
like he kind of convinces him to give up the information he knows without being Batman, where he's gonna beat the answer out of you and threaten you.
yeah.
Because that's not Spider-Man's style. Spider-Man will web you up and talk to you and convince you to give him the answer, and he'll be on his way. Like they got that right.
Where like that's one of the things that like in the Toby movies or like in the Andrew movies, like they properly interrogate people, like properly,
Yeah.
like like I
Like,
can
where is
remember.
it? Where is it? Like, no, that's not Spider-Man's style, man.
No, definitely not. And
He's the
then
good
like
cop. He
he's
talks
the
to you.
good cop, and obviously, if he had Batman by his side, he would be the bad cop.
Yeah.
So, what about yourself? Any more favorite scenes for you?
I like the end scene when
Mm.
they go to the Avengers headquarters.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Happy drives him and Tony's like telling him he did a great job and all, and he's like makes him the offer to join the Avengers.
Mm.
Ripped right out of the comics from the Civil War story. And unlike the comic, Peter makes the right decision and it's like he realizes I like when he takes Vulture's lesson. Like Vulture says him like no one looks out for us down here.
The little
Like
guys.
the Avengers are too busy fighting like the world-ending threats, like your Ultrons and Lokis, and later on
Hmm.
Thanos and Kangs or whatever. And then they don't care enough to look down to see what's happening on down on the ground. And Peter's like, I need to be the one to do that because if I don't, no one else is. Like, and I
Yeah.
like that he takes that lesson with like Vulture obviously wasn't right in what he was doing, but he
Hmm.
still had like an impact on Peter's mindset. And I like that because Peter at the beginning is like he just wants to be an Avenger. He doesn't want to have anything to do with school anymore.
Yeah,
He
he
doesn't
doesn't
want
want to be
anything to
the
do with
friendly neighborhood Spider-Man anymore. He wants to be an Avenger.
yeah, he wants to be on to bigger and better things, which is understandable. Like he
Hmm.
basically wants to grow up too fast, which is something that I think we've all done. Like
Yeah, every teenager
you,
goes for that.
you're tired of being you're tired of being a kid. You want to get up and be an adult.
Yeah.
Till it's actually time to be an adult. You realize being a teenager was better, but
Oh yeah,
uh,
definitely.
yeah. And then he realizes that, and he makes the mature decision. And Tony's just like playing it off, like, yeah, I knew that you were gonna say that. I was testing you, but the reporters are
But
actually back there, and
yeah.
they have to scramble to come up um like a cover story. And good to see Pepper again.
Oh
As
yeah, I love seeing Pepper Potts, man.
yeah,
Like,
she pops up every now and again.
yeah, especially in the Spider-Man movies. Even like in like, she might not make a physical appearance, but there will be like a check or something as well. She tends
Yeah,
to show up for Peter, which I really like as well. To like,
E-
it's like she's like a surrogate aunt, even though
even
technically it would be a surrogate mum, but because of the way she treats him, it's more like a aunt.
yeah, even in No Way Home, like she and Happy help get him the apartment
Mhm.
while he's trying to figure out his whole identity situation. Like I like that.
Also, one thing I want to point out is also why the hell did Happy go from hating like Peter to being like his number one fan? Oh, just because he saved his job.
He
Like,
saved this because Happy knew if that plane did not go down, he was getting fired, bro.
yep.
As much as
But
Tony loves to have him around, like you can't have Avengers tech being stolen.
oh yeah,
Like that's
definitely.
on your watch, bro. That's terrible.
Yeah, like any job would fire you for that. But anyway, let's get into the rating and then we can end this off. But for me, I would give this like a 9.5. Like it's close to a 10 for me because it's just so comic accurate and it's so good of a movie for me that I can't hate it. Like as much as like I could try to like find issues, I just can't. Other than maybe sometimes the CGI looks bad. Other than
Yeah,
that,
that's
the
about it.
rest of it looks like the rest of the movie. I just enjoy every time. What rating would you give it, my man?
Yeah, I give it like a 9.5, 9 because it's about as close to perfect as you can get for a Spider-Man movie to me because
Hmm.
it just nails every aspect of the character, like Peter Parker's nerdiness, Spider-Man's quipping, like even Vulture isn't accurate, but I say this for the better because they make this Vulture a lot cooler than the ones from the comics to me.
Yes,
It's
definitely.
kind of just an old man in the comics that just like steals shit, which is kind of
Yeah.
whatever. But they make Vulture cool, and like they build up a lot of villains
Mm.
in a very like subtle way, where it's not like an overload. Like you have Shocker, you have two
Mhm.
Shockers in here actually,
Yeah.
and you have Tinkerer in the background. You have Scorpion there for a scene. And, like they
Mhm.
set the stage really well for like the Spider-Man world. They get the character down. It's really funny.
Mhm.
Kind of reminds you like Ferris Bueller with like
Yeah,
some of the stuff
definitely.
they do. It's a 9.5 for me. It's just almost perfect. Like
Yeah.
I'm tempted to give it that perfect score, but there are very few movies that get perfect score for me. So
I'm the same. Like if they got Flash right and then they like
I would give it a
done
10. Yeah.
one or two wee tweaks, it would have been a 10 out of 10 for me, especially being a Spider-Man fan. But anyway, guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I have been Kane and Wolf, and that has been Cinemamba, and I shall see you guys in the next video.
Later.